Moving on, a couple of weeks back, we talked about S1, the Senate's first bill which dealt primarily with cracking down on the First Amendment. This week, we're taking a look at HR1, which incidentally actually has some good points. The problem, of course, is that these points, which we'll talk about in a minute, share room in a bill that's just a morass of proposals and findings covering everything from homeland security, to education, to labor, to space and technology, intelligence, and then some. Titled the For the People Act, this bill's main focus is election, campaign finance, and ethics reforms, designed to make voting easier as well as curb the power of big donors and reduce conflicts of interest in all three branches of government. To that end, it would create a public financing system for House elections. It would restore voting rights to millions via giving felons the right to vote once their sentences are over. It would require that all states automatically register voters who submit paperwork to a state government agency, unless the person opts out. It would provide same-day voter registration, allow 15 days of early voting with sites located near public transportation. You would use nonpartisan redistricting commissions to draw new congressional maps, enable online voter registration, count provisional ballots from eligible voters filed at the wrong polling place, and use paper ballots in addition to electronic voting systems. Damn. Election Day would also become a holiday for all federal employees. Private sectors would also be encouraged to follow suit. The bill's Disclose Act would mandate that all organizations must disclose donor information for political campaigns, an attempt to throw light on dark money. The bill also takes a stab, albeit a very weak one, at the revolving door, stating that federal contracting officers would be banned from accepting any compensation from a contractor that they awarded a contract to for 2 years after leaving office. So, to put it mildly, there's a lot in this one, and a lot of it is really good. The bill might even make it to the Senate. However, there it will probably die. Everyone's least favorite jackass turtle, Mitch McConnell, has already said that he wouldn't bring the legislation up for a vote. And to be perfectly honest, why would Senate Dems want to address things like gerrymandering and election fraud, paper ballots, when they have more than a few fingers in those pies? And yet, I do think it's important that we acknowledge these moves and vocally support them. That being said, there are two very important reasons to not be a fan of HR1. As Bruce Dixon of Black Agenda Report noted in a recent post, HR1's legislative payloads, the parts of HR1 actually intended to attract enough Republican support to pass into law, are in fact its proposal to cut third-party campaign funding in half, and it's institutionalizing an annual threat report to be written by the Pentagon and the cops. What? Yes. Let me explain. Remember way back after the 2016 elections when Prop or Not magically appeared on the media scene claiming it could tell all of us, poor ignorant proles, what was real news and what was fake? Or really, what was Russian propaganda and what was true red, white, and blue bullshit? I mean news. Prop or Not even set up a list which included the likes of Truth Out, Mint Press News, Black Agenda Report, WikiLeaks, and more. Well, fast forward to today, and HR1 not only titles Prop or Not's work as congressional findings, but seeks to then use this as the foundation for an annual report on the threats posed to the security of the U.S. electoral system that are posed by Americans who might be under the influence of foreign powers, to be drawn up by the Pentagon. A terrifying and eerie nod to our reporting earlier this year on how the Pentagon has carte blanche to turn the military-industrial complex on its own citizenry, under the guise of protecting us from an insurrection. Furthermore, how the fuck can you have a bill chock full of election reform and in the same bill basically say, I mean, it's still not our fault that our election system sucks. It's still the Russians' fault, but also these reforms. I mean, did the Russians make you put that other shit in the bill? If so, thanks, Putin. I'm so surprised that you've taken such an interest in our gerrymandering and felon disenfranchisement. In a way, though, it's actually quite brilliant. It allows House Dems to sic the intelligence and military machine on its own people, while also paying lip service to the same people with promises of reform. Well played. The other facepalm-worthy aspect of H.R. 1, as noted earlier, is its assault on third parties. The Dems have written in this wink and nod olive branch to Republicans to show them that they're serious about staying in power, even if they're willing to throw a few breadcrumbs our way. Like a two-headed king protecting its throne, H.R. 1 would raise the qualifying amount for third parties from its current level of $5,000 to $25,000 in 20 states. Needless to say, this would be disastrous for parties like the Greens, who already have a very hard time accessing ballots, and even when they do, they're more likely to be handcuffed to a chair for 8 hours than actually allowed onto a debate stage, which, by the way, is exactly what happened to Green Party candidates Jill Stein and Sherry Honkala in 2012 when they tried to gain access to the presidential debates. And this isn't a matter of whether or not you like the Green Party. It's about whether or not you think that two parties should own our election system, and in so doing, propose minor reforms to their reign while ensuring that their reign continues, that their status cannot be electorally challenged. So for all the potential H.R. 1 has in terms of real election reform, the whole package isn't worth the cost. Power concedes nothing, and the reforms in H.R. 1, though positive in many ways, do nothing to address the stranglehold of the two-party system, and in turn, that stranglehold that the military-industrial complex and big corporations have on our two-party system.